So what are we watching today, Adam?
We're gonna watch this piece of shit video. Oh
You
shit!
can't.
Has it been a minute?
Listen.
Has it been a minute yet?
Stop.
Oh,
So now that you all noticed, because we've been inundating your feeds with clips, okay, I've become very aware. This makes no sense to me. YouTube is like, if you curse in the first 2 minutes of your video, we'll get very mad. Just be nice. And Adam's immediately.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I agree. Look, Tim Pool.
Look.
is that your audio? Whose audio is that?
So if you're going to be interviewed by someone, okay,
Mm-hmm.
a wide audience you want to leech off of, basically, promote your work, go down to your local Radio Shack, Target, Walmart, whatever exists, and go buy a $20 headset for the love of God, please. Okay. Just so you have a little microphone, so you don't have the traffic and the air conditioning and every single sound in your apartment because you're using your terrible laptop microphone. Come on. What's going on?
I have a question for you, Sitch.
Yeah.
If you have to quote some anonymous source as calling somebody a coward and a phony, so that you can call that person a coward and a phony without calling them a coward and a phony, who is the real coward and phony? Just a quick question for you.
That's a fantastic point.
I know who's the real coward and phony.
Yes. I mean, why are they if the person they're calling is a coward and a phony, why are they so afraid of identifying
Yeah,
themselves?
exactly. I'm a little confused by this.
True. It's a good
The old coward and phony in quotes is just, oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yes.
This homeless bum on the street, we paid $5 to call Tim Pool a coward and phony. He wants to remain anonymous. Okay, that's good. That's cool. Journalism.
Yep.
Journalism.
He has a very good living being a political pundit on YouTube, and he has built, this little mini fiefdom of his. But the story isn't, I think, really entirely just about how Tim managed to flunk out of digital media and rise to this level of success. It's about how YouTube is a platform.
Notice the idea, the terminology that he's dipping into.
Yes.
Here. Fiefdom. Flunk out. Tim is a flunky.
Well, that's where you're like, oh, he is jealous because he's like, oh, he flunked out of digital media, which this guy is currently in. This is where the jealousy comes, because he's like, oh, I'm in digital media. Tim Pool used to be in digital media, but he left, and now he's a millionaire on YouTube.
The article too, all it is just smear tactics. It's like all salacious, National Enquirer level stuff. Somebody, that Tim Pool worked with 10 years ago had some personality conflict with him. Like, how can you actually call that journalism? Or
they're like, oh, this guy who used to work with Tim Pool 3 years ago once said that Tim Pool said something about a race war. Now, we're not going to give you any context or explanation of that statement.
Yeah.
Tim Pool denies it, but, Tim Pool's probably lying about it.
Yeah. Yes. This isn't journalism. It's just smear tactics.
And it's done because there is, like, from part of the article, there's one actual point that you could say, oh, that's like a decent claim, where he says, oh, Tim Pool predicted that nothing would happen at the Capitol riot on January 6th, incorrectly, obviously. And he had a whole video mocking people that were afraid something was going to happen. And then he claims that Tim Pool was receiving secret emails from all these far right-wing groups, where Tim Pool then had a conversation with a fellow employee saying that January 6th was actually going to be some like big problem. And I'm like, wow, if you could actually substantiate that claim, that would be
giant. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would actually be a legitimate criticism if you could show that he was intentionally lying to his audience or something. But of course, none of these claims are substantiated. They're all anonymous sources that once worked with Tim Pool, once said this,
Hearsay.
Tim Pool once said this in a meeting while walking out the door with a donut in his mouth. And you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. That race war charge that they have, they I guess we'll talk about it when we get to it. They mention it for sure. So
platform necessarily enables Tim Pool's kind of commentary. And by that, I mean commentary that is sensationalist, that is cranked out quickly, that doesn't necessarily have to be backed up by solid research or insight.
Nothing in your article is backed up by solid research or insight.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean,
let's
give them some credit here. It took a long time to fabricate all this bullshit.
Yeah, it took a long time to measure the recollections of people from 10 years ago who were probably also seething with jealousy that they were working at the same exact status level as Tim Pool 10 years ago, and he's rocketed above them. No, there could not be inner office jealousy going on within these people. No, that could never happen.
A lot of the claims in the article are this guy interviewing people that used to work with Tim at Vice, saying, "Oh, when I worked with Tim at Vice, he was egomaniacal and an a-hole, and he was, didn't take his job seriously." And I'm like, okay, like I'm gonna believe these people from like 10 years ago having this recollection of Tim who don't want to even be identified and who, as you said, are probably very jealous that he left Vice and is now making millions of dollars. Yeah, okay. Sure.
They love to use that anonymous thing to their advantage too, because it makes the person that they're making all these snide comments about seem worse, because they're saying, "Oh, I'm afraid of retaliation." Yeah, you should be. If you're lying about people, you should be afraid of retaliation. Don't lie about people. I'm super skeptical of people who are like, "Oh, I'm so afraid of retaliation." If you're telling the truth, you should not be afraid of any kind of retaliation whatsoever.
Well, and also if you have like this anonymous source thing, for all we know, all these sources, all these quotes, all these claims could be from like the same person, and you wouldn't know because it's an anonymous source.
Yeah, exactly.
Logistics, and as a matter of the function of how YouTube works, it necessarily thrives on conspiracy and ill-advised speculation. And that's the arena that Tim has managed to flourish in, as I said, after trying to make it in digital media and not succeeding, and certainly not to the level he has on YouTube.
Yeah.
So there's an interesting dynamic that you're about to witness, because so this guy comes on and says, in order to survive and thrive on YouTube, you have to be bad at fact checking and engage in conspiracy theories and blah, 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 blah.
Yes.
He's saying this while on a YouTube show.
Yeah. TYT.
Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic.
Oh, yeah. No, spell it out, because I don't think. So you, Sitch actually made a great video a long time ago on, God, it must have been like 10 years ago or 15 years ago when he made this
15 years back when I used to make videos. 15 years ago, back when Sitch was still a wee lad making videos on the YouTubes in the golden era.
But there's definitely a war between legacy media and YouTube.
Yes.
And that there's a little bit of that dynamic going on here, because TYT is obviously on the same side in that war with Tim Pool.
Yeah, exactly.
They're on the same exact team. And then this guy comes in and says, yeah, basically, legacy media is where it's at. And, Tim Pool couldn't hack it in legacy media like you guys, the Young Turks, couldn't hack it either. So you guys are here. So he's a little bit snubbing TYT to their face. I don't think he knows that. I don't think he realizes that. I don't think this
Maybe
guy...
Maybe not.
This guy thinks, oh, TYT, they're the establishment too. What are we talking about? No, TYT, well, I listened to TYT forever ago. I don't know if they do this regularly, but they probably do. They shit on the mainstream media all the time. Their whole gig is mainstream media doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. They're
all a bunch of Nazi conformist cheerleaders.
Corporate shills.
Corporate shills, exactly. That's a perfect example. Yeah.
Right.
So, and we aren't the corporate shills. You guys, we're viewer supported. We shill to you guys. You guys make the rules here. You want to hear conspiracy theories? We're going to tee them up for you. You want to hear how Republicans
true,
are,
Adam.
You want to hear how Republicans are racist, sexist, pieces of shit 24/7? Tee it up. Fill up our Patreon. We're here to help.
Okay,
right?
Maybe that is entirely true.
I mean, basically, what's the difference, right?
Well, and you could be, you're right. I didn't think about this. Maybe because this Daily Beast writer has when he thinks of like conspiracy theories and YouTube and all this evil, he's only thinking of it as like the evil right wingers. And so maybe he doesn't realize, because he's talking to leftists like TYT, that he's basically insulting them to their face.
Yes.
Which Cenk is about to be like, well, not all.
Yeah, exactly. He is.
Because there is that dynamic where Cenk's like, oh, you're kind of insulting us and we have to defend ourselves, but we want to agree with you that Tim Pool is one of the baddies. So anyways, thank you all for coming on this journey with us through watching the Young Turks' incredible idiotic projection and hypocrisy. Thank you, Connor Counterpoints, for joining us. What are you? This sounds awful. What's happening? That's depressing. Sounds like we're dying.